All right, everybody, welcome to comics class. My name is Brandon Pallas, and today we are going to continue our Simplified Anatomy series with the anatomy of the torso, or the front part of the torso at least. I guess the back is considered part of the torso, but we usually just call it the back. Um, so yeah, we'll do that. But first, let's go ahead and get into some warm-ups. Get your materials, your drawing materials ready. Get your streams up if you want others to be able to see it. And as usual, let's just start with a little bit of S curves or with a little bit of C curves. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to start sort of radiating them out or in toward a central point. This is going to be super useful for us as we go forward. Just developing the ability to do this. So just play around with some different different kind of angles of line, different you can go much straighter, longer lines. You can go tighter, real C curves, tight like a letter C, and go both directions. Yeah, it's good to practice all the directions. Go out from the middle. Go in toward the middle. Do a few more of those. It's also good to try to do them not actually coming together, but just like aiming toward a central point. There's going to be so many places where it just in drawing in general where this skill is going to come in handy. When we get to perspective, especially, we're going to find that it's really useful to just be able to kind of keep a point in mind and just kind of aim toward it. It doesn't exactly have to be toward a central point, but just try to get kind of a radiating quality about it where they all have kind of the same difference in angle between them. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing. This can be a little tougher. Do the same thing, but with S curves. S curves toward a central point. When I get to this horizontal one right here, it's not so good. So that's something I need to practice more. This would be really great for if you wanted to draw an octopus or something. And then for these as well, we don't always have to be going toward a central point, but it's good to just create kind of a pattern of like movement between the lines where there's a trend of the direction the lines are kind of turning or rotating or whatever. Just do a few more of those. Start to stretch them out here. The ability to like put down lines in relation to other lines and to keep a kind of a nice visual proportion, distance, angle difference is going to come in super handy. Just a few more, just kind of basic S curves here. Give them a little bit of a narrowing toward a point. All right. And that'll do for our basic curves. now let's go ahead and do a little more of what we did last time. I think last time. Uh, Maybe the time before. Let's just draw some basic kind of blobby shapes. Some longer ones, some shorter, fatter ones. Just do like 5 or 6 of those and start wrapping those with rubber bands. Really like trying to define the form the whole way around. Let the line kind of curl around the edges. This is invaluable for developing your sense of form. You can use these lines, actually draw them in if you need to help yourself, or you can just kind of, this will develop your sense of being able to see the form just as you look at one of these objects. Pretty soon we'll start moving on to some harder stuff. But yeah, I know this is probably pretty basic for a lot of you, but it really helps to just put in the time working on these really fundamental skills. A little more of that. As we work on the torso here, there's going to be a lot of this kind of wrapping lines around the torso. So this is a really good exercise to warm up with. Those are looking good, Bren.
Thanks.
I'm going to give one of them a little dip in the middle. Try to keep that active throughout the whole piece. Give this one a kind of a narrow waist. All right, so that probably ought to do for warm-ups. We'll move right into the lecture. So today we're doing the torso. We're continuing on from the neck and shoulders last time, so I'll do some quick review. I'll just draw out a quick mannequin, full length of the figure, hips at halfway, separate the top portion into thirds, shoulders 2/3 of the way up, put the head in there, taking up 2/3 of that space, put some mass for the torso, drop some legs in there. Not gonna really worry about the proportions of the legs right now. We've done it before, we'll do it again. So let me go in here. Just a quick review. Okay, we got the acromion process here, the bony area at the tip of the shoulder. The neck, just draw some lines for the neck coming down here for the column of the neck. We've got the sternocleidomastoids coming down to the clavicular notch. We got the trapezius running down from kind of just below the jaw to that acromion process. Let's put some bones here for the upper arms. And then the deltoid can overlap the chest here a little bit, and it's kind of like an upside down teardrop. It's going to come to about halfway down the upper arm. So that's review from last week, and I guess I'll go ahead and I'll work with this same figure, and I'll just knock it back, and everything we're concerned with today is going to be this area here. Okay, so I will separate these, put this line down the middle, curving, curving out this way up here, not this way down here. So we're just starting to put in a slight curve to the figure. Okay, so we got all of this stuff up here. Some of this, mostly this is separate, but the shoulders, the deltoids in particular, are going to kind of interact with the chest a little bit. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to start with that. Okay, so we're going to start by separating this upper part of the torso into halves. I misspoke a little bit when I did the intro. I talked about this ratio that's like a little between a half and a third. Like a third would be there, half is there, approximately. I was talking about here, and I said that was where the bottom of the chest was, but I misspoke there. It's really about halfway. So we'll start here with this line halfway through the chest, and then we'll put another line about halfway. This one is a little bit on that ratio where it's a little less than halfway. Maybe that would be thirds, and that would be half. So we're going to put this line just slightly, about like a 2-to-3 ratio. And this line is going to be the top of the pelvis, basically. So this is the first part. Very simple. We're just going to split these segments, and then for the vault of the rib cage, we're going to come on the front here, a little bit in from the side, not like all the way from the side, but a little bit in, and we're going to put an arch that comes to just a little bit below the bottom of the pectoral muscles there. And this is where the top of this arch is going to hit that like 2-to-3 ratio that I was talking about before. So let's see. If we follow the edge of this arch up, we'll hit like right there. That's kind of going to be where the pectoral muscles connect. And they're going to run up to high up on the upper arm bone, on the humerus bone, and they're going to run underneath the front deltoid there. So we got that. Now I'm going to come down here, and following down from this line, I'm just going to drop a line down to this line that we made here. And then beyond there, we're going to go down and we're going to create like a U that runs down to the crotch, like at the hip line. And because the crotch starts to curve underneath, like depending on the angle, we're going to get, if this was like a very far turn to the side, we would see, this is going to start to curl underneath. But from the front, we really only need to worry about this kind of U shape. And that's going to be most of what we need to really set up all of this, stuff. So from there, we would add the, let's see, I'll start with the external obliques. These are the muscles on the side of the waist that twist the body from side to side or turn, bring the upper, the rib cage down to the side. So these muscles come here, and they come right down to this line here. I forgot to mention what we're actually looking at here. Right here, below this line, this is the bony landmark of, I'll go over the bony landmarks real quickly before we move on. This is the bony landmark of the hip bone. It's called the anterior superior iliac spine, which means the front upper spine, which is just any kind of straight line of bone on the surface of the body, of the ilium, which is the pelvis. So everybody, regardless of weight or body type, whatever, has your hip bones kind of touching the surface here. And that's going to be really important That's a very significant landmark. Other ones are, okay, we already know we have the notch of the neck there. We've got the acromion process up there. We've also got the sternum. I guess the whole clavicle counts as a bony landmark as well. And then we've got the sternum, the middle bone that runs down the chest, and the, I believe that's the xiphoid process. Let me confirm that real quick. Yep, the xiphoid process. It's this weird little nub of bone that kind of pokes down from the top of the chest. Uh, and then the vault of the rib cage is also considered a bony landmark. You should be able to feel your ribs there as well. So there's the bony landmarks that we're dealing with. Everything is going to kind of run to and from these areas. So knock that back a little bit. All right, so we've got most of the major sections in here. We've got the chest separated out. We've got the vault of the rib cage separated out. We've got the external obliques separated out, creating this whole area in here. That is that's the abs. That's what we think of as the abs. It's all really, there's a lot of abdominal muscles. The external obliques are abdominal muscles, etc. But when we talk about the abs, talk about like the six pack or whatever, that's what we're dealing with here. And if you're drawing comic books, superhero comic books, shonen manga, anything like that, if you're working in video games, there's a very good chance you're going to be drawing a lot of like ripped six packs. So this is important stuff here. All right, so the first abdominal muscles tend to lie kind of above that vault of the rib cage. And then we're going to get like 1, 2. There's going to be the navel, the belly button, which I told you before, it lays at the level of the natural waist, the narrowest point of the waist there. Although in looking at reference for this, I found that most of what I was looking at, it seemed like most people's navel actually is a little bit lower than that. And the third set down of abdominal muscles here, actually the rectus abdominis muscle, what that's called. Rectus means vertical. So this is just one big long muscle that runs from the top to bottom, and it's got these like straps of fascia and like ligament kind of material that separates it, but it's actually all one muscle. In any case, we're going to have these top two here. This area here above the navel is going to have like a little 4. And then that's kind of the six pack, right? That you hear about. And if you look at anatomy drawings and stuff, you'll see that some of them will have another set of ligaments down here and some of them will not. I think that might be an actual like just human variation. People are different in that way. But in any case, some people, maybe not, I'm not sure about that, but you will see kind of around the level of the external obliques where they touch the iliac spine there. You'll see another sort of separator, but people don't really have this on their body, and I mean like visible on their body unless they're super lean and muscular. So that's not always important for us to draw, but it's good to know about. So let's see. We've also got some muscles coming down this way, the serratus anterior, which runs down from below the shoulder blade. I'll deal with that a little bit later. But this is the basic pattern. And I'll do a bunch of demos right now. And we'll just kind of go through it a few times so you guys can sort of see it in action. But before we go on, does anybody have any questions?
Not from me.
Okay. I see we got a few more people in. All right. Okay, cool. I'll go on and we'll just start doing some drawings here, and I'll just kind of talk through the anatomy as we do it. So let's just put in hips and shoulders. Waist will be right there. Okay. You know, let it get a little bit of form. Okay, so halfway, this is the line of the chest. Um, I don't have a good measurement for where to put the edge of the chest and the edge of the pecs and the edge of um, the rib cage vault, but you know, it's just kind of right on the side there. This is going to vary with everybody actually. As far as all proportions go, like people are different. There are standards or like average proportions, but everybody's a little different. You know, some people have like longer legs or longer torsos. Some people have long arms. Some people have short arms. That's one that I feel like you see big differences in, is how long someone's arms are. But also with the musculature of the torso, you're going to see a lot of variation, especially in the abdominals. If people are like lean and muscular enough to really see their abs, you can see all kinds of weird different shapes. Like some of them are like lined up like perfect like bricks, and some of them get all like misaligned, and it's interesting. It's really interesting to see that variation. You'll see a lot of different shapes of like the pectoral muscles and stuff. Um, but I digress. Okay, so let's finish this out. We'll put this line a little less than halfway. Um, bring those lines down to separate the external oblique. The finish out the abdominal area there, the rectus abdominis. This runs all the way up to the to kind of underneath the pectoral muscles. It's just this big, long, flat muscle that runs all the way up the front. Um, okay, so we got that. Just throw in some deltoid there for good measure, because it helps to see, you know, how the pectoral muscle runs up underneath. And to me, these lines, they kind of, the lines of the sides of the pectoral muscle here, they kind of run not exactly to the acromion process, but pretty close. Like they run a little bit down. They connect to the humerus, the upper arm bone, just a little bit below that acromion process. There will be other muscles sticking out kind of from the back here. We'll cover those when we get to the back. Let me just put in those external obliques. They're just, like I said, you know, we got this line here that shows where they go. They're not going to cut straight across like this, but they will kind of curve around like that. The iliac spine here, the hip bone, is going to kind of create a border to those abdominals here. And, you know, depending on the person's level of muscularity or fat, you know, we will always see some sort of a indicator here of the hip bone, but you know, depending on the person's build, it'll look very different depending on what's going on with the legs and everything, you know, the fat pads and stuff. But we're always going to see that there. And the muscles of the legs are going to tie in here, and the muscles of the abs, torso, the waist are all important here. So super important. Always make sure, you know, you understand your bony landmarks. Let's see. I will go ahead and like put in some abs here. This is really cool. You just do a few little C curves. Put in fill in the muscles after. All right, the serratus anterior is a muscle that kind of like it runs from underneath the shoulder blade, and it wraps around the rib cage, and it has these like little kind of teeth or fingers that kind of wrap along the rib cage. And what it does is it slides the shoulder blade around the side of the rib cage, bringing the arm forward. That's why it's actually called the boxer's muscle sometimes, because boxers tend to have really developed serratus anterior from all the punching. And it's called serratus because it's serrated, like a serrated knife, like that. So I'm not going to cover like in depth how this muscle looks, but I will give you a cool little trick for it, which is you can kind of just do like, remember when we did these C curves like this in the intro? You can kind of do the same thing here. Aim them kind of back toward like where the shoulder blade would be if you wrapped around the torso. 1, 2, 3, and then you can put some. It's going to look like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is kind of a cheat. And if you're doing super serious academic figure drawing, you know, you're going to want to be more accurate. But if you're just doing comics or something, this is plenty. And basically, this is what I do. All right, so there's one. Let me do another one. We'll look down on it a little bit this time. Let's see. Oh, we got a meme. Ab spread. That's nice. Okay. So let me just do another one here. I'll put in a little bit of the neck stuff. I find that I like to put the deltoids in first, since the pectorals are going to go underneath it. They're going to slide up underneath there. So that halfway line, the pecs right there, bring that vault of the rib cage up. Let's see, put that line here, a little less than halfway. Drop this down. We got the obliques. So much like with the neck system, like there's kind of just a handful of lines, and when you put them all in the right place, you can kind of tie all of these muscles together really really conveniently. And like I said before, you know, in this course, I'm not trying to cover anatomy in depth. If you guys really want to learn about, you know, exactly what all the bones and muscles look like, that's something you're going to have to get somewhere else in your own study. But I'm trying to give you enough to, in my opinion, if you understand the attachments and you understand the bony landmarks, like that's most of the game right there. Everything else is kind of cherry on top. So put that rib cage vault in. Since this torso is facing to this side a bit, you know, we're almost kind of reaching the edge on this side, but then on this side it kind of comes over more. Drop that down. Let's see. Put some deltoids in there. Bring the chest up. The sides of the pectoral muscles. And now I want to point out that the rib cage actually kind of goes like this, right? So all of this mass over here, this is all muscle and tissue, right? So this would be the lats and the teres muscles, the teres major, teres minor, kind of running to the arm from the shoulder blade. So we do get kind of a thing where there becomes like a hollow here in the armpit, and the pectoral muscle stretches out in front of it, and then the back muscles stretch out behind it while the rib cage kind of goes up in here, and it creates a little hollow. Let's see. I'm not sure how much I want to go into detail on that right now, but all right, just do a couple more chests or torsos. Let's see. Maybe do like more of a feminine one here. Okay, so let's get the basics in place. Line halfway, line a little bit less than halfway. Build the pectoral muscles there. rib cage vault. Bring these down to the hip bones, the anterior superior iliac spine. Bring that border of the abdominals down to the crotch. Now, when you're drawing a woman, when you're drawing someone with breasts, the breasts are going to fall more or less like halfway on, halfway off the pectorals. So I'm just going to put, let's see, I'll use a different color here. Just rough them in like that. So basically halfway on, halfway off. They're going to kind of rest on top of the vault of the rib cage right there. So yeah, that's another thing that you guys can probably like research more on your own, because I'm not going in depth on fat pads and all of that stuff, but just so you know, do another female body here. Okay, halfway for the chest, a little less than halfway for the hip bones. The breasts just coming a little off the pectorals, like I said, like kind of halfway on, halfway off. Rough in the external obliques. We can put in the abs. Let's see. Like I said, the navel tends to be a little bit below the actual waist there. Yeah. That's probably good for now. Anybody have any questions? No. Okay, doesn't seem like it. Let me see. Okay, I do want to cover a little bit about how the pectoral muscle behaves, because there's an interesting thing where, all right, put that in. If the arms are up, okay, we'll start with an arm that's up. The pectoral muscle, when it's kind of flat, which is when the arm is up, it goes like this. It reaches up into the, like I said, toward like high up on the upper arm bone. But there are multiple what are called heads of the of that muscle, of the pectoral muscle, and there a lot of muscles have multiple heads. I have to do a quick Google here. Yeah, so we have the sternal head, which is all of this stuff here that connects to the sternum, and then we have the clavicular head that connects to the clavicle up here. So it has this interesting effect where when the arm is up, the muscle all kind of stretches up like this, right? But let me just bring a quick copy here. And when the arm is down, the sternal head is mostly the same. Everything just kind of like runs to the sternum here. But the clavicular head, which attaches, they all attach right around like around there. But the sternal head runs up to here. So what happens is when the arm is down, it like overlaps, and you'll get this weird little cut there, because it's actually being like, okay, let me see if I can just draw like this is kind of what the muscle looks like when the arm is up, but when it's down, it kind of folds over like this. So when you look at people who have like a really buff chest, you'll see a little like a little notch there, where the muscle folds over itself. So I know I said I wasn't going to go too much in depth into like the specific shapes of the muscles and everything, but that is an important point. So let me just do one or two more And then we'll jump into drawing over some reference photos, just so we can see, how all of this stuff fits on an actual human body. This one, I'm gonna go ahead and make this guy like pretty buff, and we'll see we'll see that little cut that I was just talking about. Big old bulging back muscles, bulging external obliques. Okay, so we do want to make sure, we have the rib cage going up here. We can kind of see the back muscles popping out behind that. Cover those later. And then I'm going to do that little trick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. For those serratus anterior. All right, one more. Just one more. Let's see. And I'll try to do this one twisting a bit. Halfway. Bring those lines of the pectorals down there. Vault of the rib cage. And I want to point out, obviously this whole like rib cage area is rigid. This is bone. It doesn't flex. The ribs actually do flex a little bit. They're all connected by cartilage, and they can move a bit, but it's not going to make much difference for our purposes. So think of all this as a rigid part of the body that doesn't flex. And then we got this line here, right? We bring the hip bones down. Basically everything down here is related to the pelvis, the ilium, the whole like pelvic bone. So that's going to be rigid and not move. But everything in between, all of this stuff, this is just flesh. There's a spine in there, but there's no bone structure out in this area. So all of this can like stretch and twist and bulge and everything, and like every which way. So just remember that up here, it's rigid. Down here, it's rigid. That's weird. I'm going to have to bone up on the pelvis. But all of this in here can like kind of flex and squish and all that. So just keep that in mind. If you twist the body, most of the actual twist you're going to see like right in there. Because this stuff, it's not going to twist like through this. But anyway, okay, let me just finish this one off. External obliques. Since this is twisting this way, we're going to see this one bulging out a little bit. This one's going to be kind of stretching out a little bit. Put in that serratus wrapping around the rib cage. Throw in some abs. All right. So that's probably good for the initial lecture. And now we'll go ahead and move on to some reference photos. So let's see. Let's start with this guy. All right. This guy, he's very slender. We don't see a ton of muscle and everything, but that gives us, we can still see all of the bony landmarks. So we got the notch of the clavicle right there. We got the sternum. We got the xiphoid process right there. I'm actually going to do this, build in this actual torso structure here. Okay, so you can see this guy's navel is actually way below his natural waist. Some of that is the camera angle, because if you're looking down, this is a relatively cylindrical object, so the front of it is going to go down. as compared to the sides. But anyway, okay. So bottom of the pectoral muscles, see them kind of running back to high up on the upper arm bone. Those deltoids in there. Vault of the rib cage. And this is like I said before, this is something that you're going to see is different on everybody. Everybody's got different structures for their ribs and their musculature here. There's even a weird muscle in the chest that runs right up the sternum called the sternalis that not everybody has. I think only a minority of people have it. There's a lot of weird variation among people, but you know, you learn the basics, you can kind of modify it to your needs. So this guy, we can't really see his hip bones or anything because he's wearing pants, but we know it would all be like right here. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Serratus there. Abs would be like, let's see, there. Yeah. Close enough. That one got kind of messy. Okay, let's see. Let's move on to, all right, we got some, this is practically cheating, but we got some old classical sculpture, which is kind of specifically made to show all of these elements. So let's put that hip line right there at the widest point of the thigh. You'll also see that, you know, it'll look like it dips in on the other side. That's just because he's tilting to the side. The chromium process is right there. Go ahead and create the fleshy bits there. Let's see. All right, halfway. This one, well, let's see. I guess I drew that line a little bit high. So halfway, pectoral muscles running to up underneath the deltoid there. There's one more thing I wanted to show. I'll show in a minute, but I forgot. Okay, built this vault of the rib cage. We can put in those external or serratus anterior there. This line about a little more than a third, a little less than a half down. Look at how nicely those external obliques sit on top of that. And then this runs down to the crotch. We've got the borders of the abs there. And as you can see, the abs here, the first set, the first pair are on top of the rib cage. That varies with everybody depending on how your rib cage is built. You know, you'll see some people, you can see the abs are fully on top. Some people, that first pair like kind of stretch across the border here. It's just going to vary a lot. So just build some abs in there. Typically, the belly button is right around the second set of abs there, often a little bit below. All right, that should be good. Okay, there was one more thing before I go on too much. There was one more detail I wanted to add. So let me just draw one more torso. Just do it real quick here. And this is just a little trick. I probably want to do a different angle. Okay, so here's the trick. When you put in your, let's see, put some deltoids there. There's kind of, when you put in the chest, the pectorals, where they connect with the deltoids and kind of run underneath, there's going to be a line between them. And I find that it helps to aim that line at like right underneath the chin, like where the chin would connect to the neck. There's almost like an angle there. So let's see. Oops. Okay, oh, it's getting late already, 12:46. All right. So yeah, just I don't know how useful this will be to you guys, but to me it seems like an important thing. Is that the angle between the chest and the pectoral will tend to aim right to the area right under the chin right there, where the chin kind of connects to the neck. So let me get rid of those. We'll go back to doing these figures. Let's see. I don't know how many we really need to do. Let's do these. I guess these guys are probably swimmers. Okay, and then they have a lot of features that we can easily see. So here's the line of the shoulders, line of the hips. Okay. Oh, very prominent, extremely prominent. Look at that. Like they're like bulging out, external obliques on this guy. And then we can really see the edge where the hip bone is. Pectorals halfway, running up here, build that the rib cage, the vault of the ribs, create that rectus abdominis. And don't need to go in depth on the abs. That's pretty good right there. Do this guy as well. Okay. Let's see. Am I going? Probably putting that line a little bit low. All right. So we got the external obliques. This kind of U shape swooping down. Chest there, running up under the deltoid. Build the vault of the rib cage. Put the abs in there. And then, boom, look at that. Look at how these both aim right toward that neck thing, like I was saying. All right, let's see. Okay, she's cool because she has a very prominent hip bone that we can see here. We can also see the vault of the ribs. So let's, we're gonna have to do some guessing here, but shouldn't be too bad. Here is the, let's see. Gonna have to kind of guess on the greater trochanter of the thigh. It's tough to tell. It's a weird angle. It's kind of tough to see where everything should be, but let's just go like this. Here. Okay, so pectorals are going to be going up this way. We got the vault of the ribs. Her torso is turned very much to the side, so all of this is like way over this way. Let's see. I should probably be using a smaller pen for this. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, this one got messy, but I'm just going to get rid of that. But I do want to just make sure you guys really notice the hip bone here and how it kind of sticks out. Oops. I see what I did. I made my eraser smaller instead of my pen. All right, let's see what else we got. Try this lady up here. Okay, so this is actually, you can see how this is the widest point of the hips. Shoot that across. Torso or shoulders. And actually, yeah, look at her navel is way over here. That means this is the center line. Okay, so put halfway up, pectorals. Her breasts are kind of up high with like where the pectorals are rather than kind of coming down, but I think that's because she's got like a sports bra on, and also her arms are kind of pulling everything upward. Okay, let's see. Find that, just kind of estimate where that hip bone is going to be. See that external oblique coming, vault of the rib cage. Sometimes what you're seeing, you can usually see these like striations here. Like sometimes that's the ribs themselves, sometimes that's the serratus muscle. Depends. Alrighty, what do we got? Let's do her. Waist, hips. Pectorals running back here. Always to kind of like about the middle of the deltoid. Vault of the rib cage. You can see the hip bone here. You can also see right here the kind of border of the rectus abdominis area, so that means the other hip bone is there. The external obliques would kind of be there. This area is all going to kind of come down toward the crotch. Oops. And then just for fun, this guy is largely hidden, but let's just build that just for the challenge of it. See if we can build all this stuff. Okay, so the divot of the pit of the neck is going to be about there. Bring that center line down about halfway. That means the pecs are going to be like here. They're run to underneath the deltoid, vault of the rib cage. Let's see some serratus anterior here. More or less like that. Let's see what else we got. Okay, we'll go straight to the. This is practically cheating. We got this buff bodybuilder dude. Okay. Let's see. Where's the hips? I can't tell where his hips are, so I'm going to have to estimate. I'm going to measure with my hand, just bring it down like this. Okay, you can see a little, probably should be a little bit higher than that. You can see the external obliques here. This dark bit right here, this is the shadow that shows us that's the edge of the abdominals there. So that's where the hip bone is. Vault of the rib cage, you can kind of see it here. Some muscles coming down that way. X. All right. Let's see. Let's try her. Okay. Hip bones. Shoulders. Put that line for the top of the hip bones. About a little less than a halfway down. Go that line going down to the crotch, delineating the edge of the abdominals. Put the sternal oblique in there. Rib cage. Pectorals would be kind of right up around here. Would have a little bit of serratus there. And let's see. Okay, let's do this woman here. This is a good example. She's a little heavier than most of the models that we see, but we can still see the pit of the neck. We can see, now this is like where her bra is cutting in, but I think that's the same as where the chromium process is. Not 100% sure. I think that's about right. So we'll define that. We'll define the broadest point of the hips. I think it would actually be about here. I think this is a case where, since she's a little heavier, we're going to get the bony landmark here, but then her thigh actually kind of bulges out a little bit, because that's the way it usually works on a slender person. The bony landmarks will protrude, and on a heavier person, they will kind of recede, but they're always there. Okay, let's just build in this mass. And again, we always have to consider, when a person has a lot of flesh, whether it's fat or muscle, that it's built up on top of the skeleton. You know, they have probably an average size skeleton, but there's a lot of either muscle or fat or both on top of it. All right. Halfway for the pectoral muscles. This is kind of a perfect example of how the breasts are like halfway on, halfway off the pectoral muscle. Build that vault of the rib cage. This line is going to be a little less than half. Delineate the external oblique. Hip bones are going to be right here. Put in all those abdominal muscles if we want. Let's see. Okay. Let's do one more. All right, let's use her. She's very slender. We can see all of her parts. Let's do shoulders and hips. I'm just going to have to kind of guess. Go to somewhere around there. Put the waist there. We can see that line right down the middle. So, okay, we got the, let's put the pectorals halfway. Let them run back to up underneath the deltoids. Vault of the rib cage. We got the little less than halfway there. We're going to have the external oblique and the hip bone. We can put those abs in if we want. So let's see. What do we have left? Couple more. Yeah. I'll go ahead and do this one just for kind of a final review, since we got this nice sculpture that we can see all of the details on. The chromium process is up here. Clavicle. A little less than halfway. Delineate the edge, the borders of the rectus abdominis. Go halfway for the pectoral muscles here. Let those run out to underneath the deltoids. Build that rib cage. Here's another one where we can really see the bulging out of the external obliques. Start putting those abs in. And yeah, I think that will about cover it. It's a lot of demos. Does anybody have any questions on this? Anything that isn't clear? Anything you'd like to see again?
I've got one question.
Yes.
So you mentioned there was a line between the deltoids and the pectoral muscle that, at
Mm-hmm.
least at rest, typically points towards the chin. Does it
Mm-hmm.
still point towards the or up?
Uh, no, I would say not. Because right here, that line kind of disappears. Look at
Right.
this guy, for instance. That's, uh, you can kind of imagine a line like right there. Um, but the line does tend to kind of disappear when the arm is up. It's more, I mean, even here, like these guys, they're athletic guys, but they're not super muscular. So the line is not super obvious, but you can kind of see, right? Like there's kind of a line here, and there's kind of a line here, and those do tend to kind of point right there. But yeah, I would say that when the arm is up, that line is going to that line's kind of going to disappear. So I wouldn't really worry about it there.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah, if nobody else has any questions, then we will go ahead and go into homework. Homework is just going to be just give me 10 torsos. Um, you can put in the neck stuff if you want. It might help, especially putting in the deltoids at least, or some indication of the deltoids. But yeah, just give me 10, 10 torsos, either from reference or from your imagination if you feel confident to do it that way. Um, and yeah, I think that'll be it. Put your homework in the homework session 5 channel if you want to, and I'll try to give some critique. Otherwise, thank you very much, guys, for coming to class, and I'll see you next week. We will move on to the back. So, all right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody, take care.
Thank you.